Everybody wants to know how to nail the perfectly crisp and golden roast potato, and we have got a recipe today for the ultimate duck fat roast potatoes. And we've got a few tricks to show how to get them golden and crisp every time. Firstly, the selection of potato. I'm using a really floury potato, King Edward, so use something like that, not waxy like a Kipflo or anything. You want to do something floury that it breaks up really well and doesn't retain too much moisture. So firstly, we're just going to peel all of our potatoes, and that's a bit of a boring job. And while I'm peeling, we've just got some water coming to the boil. And now the first hack for getting these ultra crispy is these potatoes are quite flat, so all I'm going to do is halve them lengthways. What we're trying to do is maximize the surface area that potato is going to be frying on and getting all crispy. I'm going to take a fork and I'm going to ruffle it up, creating some grooves, and those grooves are going to widen a bit as they boil. I'm going to add some bicarb, and with the magic of science, it'll break down the potatoes a bit more, so make sure you do add this in. So I've just got a teaspoon of bicarb, and then we go in with our potatoes. And now we're going to cook those for about 10 minutes until I pierce them with a knife and they're just tender, and then we're going to drain them. So while our potatoes are boiling, I'm just going to get a large oven tray, and we're just going to take our duck fat and pour it into the tray. If you don't want to use duck fat, you could use extra virgin olive oil, but if you want the most epically crispy, you've got to use duck fat. So into the oven, and we're going to get this really hot so we can put in the potatoes so they start crisping immediately. Okay, so we'll just check our potatoes. They should be tender, so we can drain them now. So we've drained those potatoes, and what I'm going to do in the colander is just give them a bit of a shake, and that's going to really ruffle up the edges a bit more. You kind of want to create a bit of a paste that goes around the potatoes, and that's just going to help them crisp up. And then we're also just going to give them a bit of a sprinkle of some plain flour, and that flour is just going to dry them up on the edges and help the crisping too. And we can get our piping hot tray out of the oven and get those straight into them. So we've got the hot tray, and we'll just go in with those potatoes and try and put the flat side down straight into the duck fat. And don't neglect those little pieces as well. Get those in because they're going to create some really nice crispy bits. And we'll get that back into the oven. I'm going to do it for about 20 minutes and then give them a turn, and we'll go all up for about an hour. Okay, so they've been in for about 20 minutes. Just going to give them all a quick flip just to make sure that each side gets loved by the duck fat. They're really looking great. But if you just keep on turning them about every 20 minutes, after an hour, they're going to be perfectly golden and crisp. Okay, so back into the oven. Okay, so these are great and golden. We are going to finish them off with a few more aromatics. I've got some garlic and some rosemary. So we're just going to take a few of those sprigs and chuck them in. And then a few cloves of garlic. This is just to perfume the potatoes at the end. The reason I don't put them in the beginning is they'll just end up burning. And so give each of those garlic cloves a slap. And then we'll just add them, just give them a bit of a toss through, coat them in some of that duck fat, and back into the oven for our final 15 minutes. Okay, so they've had their time, beautiful and crispy and golden along all the edges. Just going to drain them on some paper towel. You can keep all those rosemary sprigs and the garlic in there because they're still adding to all the perfume. And you can just hear they're properly crunchy. Give it a hit of some salt, obviously, a bit of pepper. I mean, listen to that, it's properly crunchy. Oh, it's heaven. This is my favorite food. This is by far the best food in the world. And there are our ultimate roast potatoes. Duck fat makes them incredibly crispy, so don't skimp on it. And they are epically beautiful for any occasion or for a midweek meal, I'd say.